Mr. Speaker, Canadians will not have free diabetes and birth control if it was up to the Conservative leader. And the Liberals, they keep delaying protecting women's rights. Reproductive rights,
is that a red dress pin?
Which includes barrier-free access to birth control. Unfortunately, this Conservative leader once again is attacking reproductive rights by blocking access to free contraception. Will the Liberals help us stop the Conservative leader and his anti-choice agenda and their efforts to deny free birth control?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are happy to work with everyone in this House to stand against the Leader of the Opposition's anti-choice position and his anti-choice party. We saw yet again today one of his anti-choice members putting forward an anti-abortion narrative. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we are delivering prescription contraceptives for Canadians right across the country. We'll deliver diabetes medication for Canadians right across the country for free. We're happy to work with the NDP and anyone in this House who wants to stand up for Canadians and for women's rights unequivocally.
Look at all the seals clapping. Melissa Lansman's about to fucking destroy
If
him.
you're under 30 in Canada, it's nothing but doom and gloom, according to Bloomberg Nanos. Gen Z's confidence in their pocketbooks is at the same level that it was in the first months of the pandemic. That's a 16-year low. The budget they said was about generational fairness has turned out to be a monumental failure. Instead, young Canadians keep getting higher spending, higher inflation, and higher interest rates, and they get nothing for it. The Prime Minister was voted in by young Canadians. Why won't he admit that he's destroyed their futures, step aside, and let Conservatives fix everything he broke?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, our budget is about generational fairness and investing in young Canadians, investing in the housing, in the affordability and the economic growth that they urgently need. But you know what else young Canadians need, especially young Canadian women? That is control over their bodies. You get that control with free prescription contraceptives. The Conservatives are voting against our budget because they don't believe that a young woman should control her life and her body. We won't let them do that.
I'm certain all members would like to hear the question from the member of Thornhill without interruption and also hear the answers. I'll ask all members to please do so. The honourable member from Thornhill. So
cherry-picking data, misinformation, and lecturing Canadians, telling them that they are wrong. That is a choice, Mr. Speaker. Millennials are telling this government that they can't pay their rent, that they can't pay for groceries, that they can't get to work. Even the bank governor confirmed that $61 billion in new spending is, quote, not helpful when it comes to bringing down inflation.
I'm surprised she's not going after the Palestinian protests on university campuses.
Inflationary spending so that young people stand a chance in this country.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
I notice, Mr. Speaker, that the Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party did not clarify her own position on a woman's right to choose. Canadian women deserve to know. And you know what? They can't trust any of these Conservatives to actually tell the truth, because the Governor of the Bank of Canada, in fact, said our budget was helpful because we stuck to our fiscal guardrails. That is what he said, Mr. Speaker, despite Conservative attempts to portray it otherwise.
The honourable member from Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, interest on our national debt is more than we spend on health care. The Prime Minister is spending more money lining the pockets of wealthy bankers and bondholders than making sure Canadians get the health care they need. On Thursday, the bank governor told the Finance Committee that government spending was not helpful in bringing down inflation and interest rates. When will the Prime Minister finally start listening, get spending under control to bring down inflation and interest rates?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, yet again, just basic disinformation from the Conservatives. What the Bank of Canada said to the Finance Committee last week, and I quote, speaking about our budget, I don't expect it is going to have a significant macro impact relative to our previous fiscal forecast. He said that meeting the fiscal guardrails is helpful. And Mr. Speaker, Moody's has reaffirmed our AAA rating. These are not partisans. Our budget is fiscally responsible. They're simply not telling the truth.
The honourable member from Charleswood St. James, Assiniboia Headingley.
The Prime Minister is just not worth the cost of housing. On Thursday, the Bank Governor also told the Finance Committee that housing will continue to be unaffordable into the future.
Shame.
After 9 years, the Prime Minister has destroyed the dream of home ownership in this country. Sure, they talk a big game, spending billions, but the results are double trouble. Housing prices, double. Mortgage payments, double. Rents, double. Can't they just get out of the way before things double again?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister.
Double trouble, man.
Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, it's difficult to accept criticisms from the Conservative Party when it comes to housing when both their record and their plan demonstrate they have no interest in solving the housing crisis. They're now campaigning on a commitment to cut funding for the programs that actually support home construction. They're campaigning on a commitment to raise taxes on new apartment construction that's going to help make sure apartments are available at prices that people can actually afford. And if you look at the record of the Conservative leader while he had the responsibility for the housing portfolio, he got a total of 6 affordable housing units built across the entire country.
Then I have
the honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins-Lévis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After 9 years of this Liberal government, Canadians just can't cope. The governor of the Bank of Canada says this Prime Minister's reckless spending is making it hard to lower interest rates. Canadians are struggling to feed and house themselves, and the Bloc keeps encouraging the Prime Minister to waste their money. When will this Bloc-backed Prime Minister stop impoverishing Canadians with his inflationary policies and devastating spending? The Honourable Minister of Public Services.
These people are just driving.
Thank you,
us
Mr. Speaker. I'm very happy
debt.
to hear my colleague from Lévis talking about housing. The good news is, or the right answer is, that the Conservatives built a total of 6 housing units during their entire term all across the country. The good news is, thanks to our work, is that there are 205 affordable units that have been built in her riding in recent months. That's great news for the member, but not so good for the Conservative leader as former housing minister. The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins-Lévis. It's disappointing to see how out of touch they are. Quebecers are faced with humiliating choices: food or housing, toilet paper or toothpaste, soap or deodorant. Mr. Speaker, this is 2024. In a country like Canada, Quebecers and Canadians deserve better. The Bloc and the Prime Minister are not worth the cost. Can they show a little humanity toward Quebecers and stop forcing hunger, homelessness, and poverty on them? They're laughing on the other side, Mr. Speaker. It's shameful. The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans. Mr. Speaker, it's incredible to hear my colleague on the other side who can't even support our budget. It's not complicated. Their approach is cut, 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 cut to dental care, cut to help for families and children, cuts to seniors, chop, 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 Mr. Speaker. That's all they know how to do.